It's this simple. It's a battle between those who value the core principles of this country and those who only value cheap political victories. Now, from day one, Republicans have treated the confirmation process of Judge Kavanaugh with the seriousness it deserves. Democrats, they have not. They created chaos at Judge Kavanaugh's hearings, interrupting, as you saw, dozens of times. There were constant outbursts from left-wing protesters, disrupting the proceedings, and much more. Now, just days away from a formal vote, after all of the hearings were over, and Senator Dianne Feinstein, she drops a bombshell, an allegation from a woman accusing Judge Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct going back 36 years when they were both in high school. Now, Feinstein knew about these allegations since July. She kept them secret. Now, she kept them secret when she met privately with Judge Kavanaugh. She kept them secret when she questioned Kavanaugh publicly. And Feinstein used an allegation, a serious allegation, of sexual misconduct as a political ploy to delay and disrupt Kavanaugh's confirmation. Now, despite all of this, to their credit, Republicans have rightly taken these accusations against Judge Kavanaugh seriously, as they should. A public hearing featuring both Kavanaugh and his accuser, Professor Christine Ford, has been set for Thursday. Tonight, there is still a chance we now have news Ford may not appear. Senator Dianne Feinstein said she cannot guarantee that she will show up. Now, apparently, Ford has concerns about the independent female attorney hired to question both Ford and Kavanaugh. Republicans clearly are trying to do everything in their power, as they have been doing, to accommodate Professor Ford. Now, either way, a committee vote on Kavanaugh has now been scheduled for this Friday. And, of course, Judge Kavanaugh has been begging for a chance to clear his name under oath since these charges first became public. He has categorically denied these allegations over and over. And meanwhile, virtually no evidence is backing up Professor Ford's 36-year-old claim. Now, Ford cannot remember the date or the location of the alleged incident, even the year. The 4 witnesses Professor Ford listed to corroborate her story, all of them deny what she is alleging, all 4. And now many on the left are demanding that the FBI investigate Ford's allegations, that no confirmation vote should take place until the FBI weighs in. Remember, they knew this back in July. Now, tonight, they should take the advice, can't believe I'm saying this, of crazy Uncle Joe Biden. Listen to what he said way back in 1991.
The next person that refers to an FBI report as being worth anything obviously doesn't understand anything. FBI explicitly does not, in this or any other case, reach a conclusion. Period. Period.
All right, that means the Democrats, now it's all political. They're not listening to Joe Biden. Due process, the presumption of innocence literally mean nothing to them, especially Delaware Senator Chris Coons. He actually thinks that Judge Kavanaugh has to prove his innocence. I'm not making this up. Take a look.
To just dismiss out of hand as a shameful smear campaign these allegations strikes me as not what's appropriate in this setting. It is Judge Kavanaugh who is seeking a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court and who I think now bears the burden of disproving these allegations rather than Dr. Ford and Ms. Ramirez.
That's sad. Really? Now, Senator, remember this the next time you talk about Keith Ellison. Yeah, the #2 guy at the DNC. And Senator Chris Coons, he's not alone. Democrats want a cheap political victory at all costs, even if that means throwing inalienable rights right out the window. Smearing, slander, besmirchment, right out the window. They don't care. Watch this.
The Senate shouldn't simply rely on hearing 2 conflicting accounts and decide, well, we're okay with not knowing. We're okay with the fact that we might be putting someone who committed attempted rape on the Supreme Court of the United States.
I believe her. Listen, first of all, anybody who comes forward at this point to be prepared to testify in the United States Senate against someone who's being nominated to one of the most powerful positions in the United States government, that takes an extraordinary amount of courage.
Not only do women like Dr. Ford, who bravely comes forward, need to be heard, but they need to be believed. They need to be believed. I just want to say to the men of this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing.
Let me just say right at the Outset, I believe Dr. Ford. I believe the survivor here. There's every reason to believe her. She has come forward courageously and bravely.
I believe her. I stand with her. And
do you hope she shows up on Monday? Do you hope that she testifies?
I don't think she should be bullied into this scenario where it's a he said, she said. It's a sham hearing. And I don't think she should participate in it.
I believe Professor Ford. I think she's credible, and I think when the investigation is finished and when she testifies and Judge Kavanaugh testifies, I think a majority of senators will find her credible.
Men shut up? Oh, I believe means no due process, no presumption of innocence. Now, Judge Kavanaugh is also facing an additional allegation, totally uncorroborated claim from a woman. Her name is Miss Deborah Ramirez, and she told The New Yorker that in the 1980s, again, 34 years ago, Kavanaugh exposed himself when he was a freshman at a drunken college party at a dorm room at Yale. And get this, Ramirez herself, she's not even totally sure if Kavanaugh was the perpetrator. If you read the New Yorker column, she became, quote, quickly inebriated at the party. She told the New Yorker she was, quote, foggy and slurring her words. She even acknowledged that she has significant memory gaps from that evening. And the New York Times was not able to corroborate her story with anybody, and even said she called people that went to Yale asking them if they remembered the incident because she didn't know if it was Kavanaugh. And those who Ramirez listed as witnesses in that case to the incident are all flatly denying her charges. Quote, we can say with confidence that if the incident Debbie alleges ever occurred, we would have seen or heard about it, and we did not. The behavior that she describes would be completely out of character for Brett. In addition, some of us knew Debbie long after Yale. She never described this incident until Brett's Supreme Court nomination was pending. Also, the New Yorker interviewed Ramirez's best friend at the time of the incident, and she also is denying any knowledge of the claims. Quote, this is a woman I was best friends with. We shared intimate details of our lives, and I was never told this story by her or by anybody else. It never came up. I didn't see it. I never heard of it happening. Now, the New York Times, they couldn't corroborate the story in any way. They refused to publish the claims as part of their official reporting, and they said they spent all last week interviewing dozens of people. They couldn't find one person that could corroborate it. Now, needless to say, Chairman Grassley will not be calling Ms. Ramirez to testify. Still, despite the lack of evidence, the left, of course, rushing to judgment as they have in so many prior occasions, smearing Judge Kavanaugh, not even wanting to hear his side of it, and rushing to judgment and saying, well, I believe one person. This is dangerous for anybody in society. We should all believe. It should not be political. It's not Republican, not Democrat, not conservative, not liberal. We should believe in the presumption of innocence, but many don't. Watch this.
This is a monumental defining moment this week when you have someone like Cosby going to prison and then in the same breath having Kavanaugh possibly going to the highest court in the land.
Does he want America to believe that the only thing that he did until well into his college years was effectively kiss or French kiss a woman? Is that what he wants America to believe?
And to be honest, that is very much a white male Republican defense to say, oh, I was a virgin, I could not have possibly sexually assaulted a woman.
If they go through a Senate hearing and it becomes a circus, they push it through, he passes, he's seated on the Supreme Court, right. There will be, as we've said last week, an asterisk next to his name as long as he's there.
So we have Nancy Pelosi, we have Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and then the new face of the Democratic Party, Michael Avenatti, all going on TV and actually threatening to expose now a gang rape scandal about Judge Kavanaugh. He's the lead guest on fake news CNN and MSNBC Conspiracy TV. They love their Avenatti. So just to recap, we have heard from Democrats rushing to judgment. We've heard from many in the mainstream media rushing to judgment. We've even heard from future Democratic presidential candidate Michael Avenatti. Yeah, again, the new face of the Democratic Party, along with others. And now, like sheep following the herd, the left's angry mob is joining the Stop Kavanaugh movement. Now, last night, far-left activists, well, they ran into Senator Ted Cruz and his wife, who were just going out to a restaurant right here in the swamp in Washington, D.C., while mindlessly chanting, "We believe survivors." Watch this.
Beto is way hotter than you do. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. God bless you. We believe survivors. God bless you. Excuse me. Let my wife through. We believe survivors. For God, we believe survivors. 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 Sexist, racist, anti-gay. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. We believe survivors.
Now, in the last year, we played it here. You've heard people like Congresswoman Maxine Waters, people like Senator Cory Booker, and years gone by, even Barack Obama, get in their face, follow them into grocery stores. What you're seeing and witnessing here is a key part of what is the Democratic playbook. We've seen these confrontations over and over again. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, Sarah Sanders, Pam Bondi, this mob mentality, these tactics of the left are now in full gear 42 days out of an election. And Senator Ted Cruz's opponent, by the way, as a sidebar, he was just given, 4 big Pinocchios by the Washington Post over statements surrounding his 1998 DUI, where he literally left the scene of the DUI accident. He was at 2 times the legal limit, but he denied that ever happened. Now, if the left truly believes survivors, they might want to focus on the deputy chair of their own party, the Democratic Party, Keith Ellison. His ex-girlfriend has accused him of repeated physical and psychological and emotional abuse dating back just a short time ago, not 36 years ago. He's now running to be the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. He's still the #2 guy at the DNC. And at a debate last week, here's what he had to say about these recent claims. Take a look.
Are you confident that no one else will step forward with any other allegations?
Look, in this political environment, I don't know what somebody might cook up, but I can tell you that there is absolutely nobody that I'm aware of who has any sort of, who's threatening or suggesting or has ever made a prior accusation.
Now, so many of these Democrats that will not give due process or the presumption of innocence to Judge Kavanaugh, they haven't uttered a word about their #2 of their party. And we may soon learn more about Ellison's treatment of women. Previous divorce proceedings may be unsealed, but tonight Ellison has yet to face an angry mob chanting, "We believe survivors." He's yet to be convicted on TV by congressional Democrats, by Senate Democrats. Neither has a California Democratic congressional candidate. He's accused of demanding sex in exchange for campaign funds. He's not being criticized either. Neither is former President Bill Clinton. He's been accused of so many counts of sexual misconduct, including by Juanita Broderick, rape. And here's what she had to say earlier today on my radio program. Take a listen.
Not one of them, even after Henry Hyde, said, please just read this account and this deposition from this Arkansas woman. And he said, just read it. We're not going to bring her into the impeachment hearing, but just read what she has to say. None would read it. Not one Democrat.
And what? We're going to have so much more on this double standard all throughout the show. By the way, and it's sad the rest of the media won't report on this. We're going to be in Washington, D.C. today, tomorrow, and, of course, Thursday for the upcoming hearing. If it happens, if Professor Ford decides to tell her story, we will listen. So while all of this is going on right here in D.C., well, the president, he's in New York at the time, and literally pushing his America First agenda moving forward with historic success. And today at the UN, he stood up solidly for America First in front of the world stage. And I think one of his best speeches to date. Take a listen.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay. America's economy is booming like never before. Since my election, we've added $10 trillion in wealth. The stock market is at an all-time high in history, and jobless claims are at a 50-year low.
That's great success for the forgotten men and women that came out to vote in 2016. Are you going to go out and vote and keep the Republicans in Congress so the agenda, the success can continue? Now, so while some of the world leaders were laughing at America's success, guess what? It's not a joke. We do have record low unemployment in 14 states. Record low unemployment, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, 65-year low for women in the workforce in America. Youth unemployment, 55-year low. 4 million fewer people on food stamps. 4 million more Americans working, breaking records in the stock market. Consumer confidence hitting an 18-year high. And now a blue wave? Well, guess what tonight? It may not be so certain as the media has been peddling to everybody. Look at this Gallup poll. Republican favorability out today has now hit a 7-year high. Now compare that to Obama's track record. Americans literally spent more on taxes in the years 2013 to 2016 than they did on food and clothing. And by the way, the Democrats want their crumbs back. There's no secret to the president's success. He doesn't go on apology tours. He puts America first, and it works. Take a look.
America will always choose independence and cooperation over global governance, control, and domination. I honor the right of every nation in this room to pursue its own customs, beliefs, and traditions. The United States will not tell you how to live or work or worship. We only ask that you honor our sovereignty in return. We will not allow our workers to be victimized, our companies to be cheated, and our wealth to be plundered and transferred. America will never apologize for protecting its citizens. We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
In 42 days, you get to decide if this agenda continues. The choice could not be clearer for the American people. It's the party of identity politics versus the party of America first. The party of chaos, disruption, versus the party of core principles, values, the Constitution, law and order. The party of big government regulations versus the party of economic growth, less burdensome regulations, lower taxes, energy independence, and yeah, protecting our borders. 42 days, your life is going to continue to improve or progress will stop. The fate is in your hands. The choice in November could not be any more clear.